Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 102 246 Back and Forth. 102nd of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Black clouds pressed down on the city, threatening to crush it. The vast swarm of fierce insects, like a dark cloud blotting out the sun, buzzed with a deafening chorus as they advanced step by step across the battlefield. Some had sharp claws and teeth, others spewed toxic mist, while still others unleashed bolts of lightning or flames. Soldier-grade fierce insects corresponded to martial mystic cultivators in the surging spring realm. Commander-grade fierce insects corresponded to martial mystic cultivators in the Five Seas realm. All the fierce insects had emerged from the earth and flown together under the command of the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors. Only a few commander-grade fierce insects bore insect scriptures markings, controlled by Bai Shu to prevent them from being exploited by enemy insect tamers and Calamity Fire Realm great spiritual masters. With the Dispel character suspended in midair, preventing commander-grade strange insects from participating, only the phoenix-winged moth emperors, as strange insect larvae, possessed the ability to rally the swarm. It was like a young emperor in the Five Seas realm standing shoulder to shoulder with a Dao Seed realm martial mystic cultivator. On the battlefield, the martial mystic cultivators engaged in combat were stunned and panicked, hastily creating protective spiritual chi barriers. The martial mystic cultivators of the San Chen Palace and Tianyi sect gathered together, led by Chen Wenwu. One of them trembled. Isn't this against the rules? The immortal patrol envoys of the Calamity Crossing Temple, stationed high above, remained impassive, ignoring the waves of protests erupting from the far western Ashlands camp. Zhu Yibai and Yin Ju stood back to back, fending off their enemies. Sweat and blood soaked their robes as they looked up at the encroaching swarm. Zhu Yibai threw back his head and laughed heartily, his voice booming with defiance, as if the battlefield's dire straits had just been saved by a powerful reinforcement. Yin Ju's resolute face softened slightly, finally allowing him to breathe a sigh of relief. I've long heard of the Zhu Li tribe's mysterious reputation, their mastery of coffin retrieval, insect rearing, spirit control, and fortune-telling is unmatched. Today, I've truly witnessed it firsthand. Brother Zhu Fu, why has your tribe remained so low profile? Were you intentionally feigning weakness before the world? Zhu Yibai clapped Yin Ju on the shoulder, their shared battle forging a bond of brotherhood. Yin Ju nearly coughed up blood from the force of the slap, but inwardly, he swelled with pride. When it came to insect control, the hidden ancestor was the undisputed master. If it so chose, the entire Lingxiao realm's 28 prefectures would be thrown into chaos, with insect swarms of unimaginable scale at its command. Unfortunately, the Zhu Li tribe's overt strength was insufficient, and none of the 9 great tribes' clan chiefs possessed the ambition or ability to seize the throne. More importantly, the hidden ancestor would never obey anyone from the Zhu Li tribe, unless the leader who vanished 1,000 years ago were to return. Turning his gaze toward Li Wei in the distance, Yin Ju finally fully conceded to the young man's talent and character, as displayed at the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival. It was a pity that Yin Shi hadn't witnessed this. Had she seen it, she might have been equally humbled by the Divine Hidden One. The tide of battle had shifted dramatically. Kang Jin and Ku Di, who had been masquerading as loyal subjects, abandoned their attacks on Zhu Yibai and Yin Ju, racing toward Luansheng Linyu. The seaside. Ming Niansheng and Tantai Jing, sensing the commotion, turned their gaze toward the city domain, now speckled with black dots. Scattered fierce insects had already flown near the Ashen region, only to be shattered by the formation into puffs of black smoke with a hissing sound. Tantai Jing, renowned as the most powerful great spiritual master, couldn't believe that someone from the younger generation could orchestrate such a grand display. Could this really not be the work of a spiritual master-level insect tamer? Lu Kangsheng leapt from the camp bristling with formation flags, landing on the city wall to survey the tide of insects below. I never expected such a dramatic shift in what seemed like a one-sided battle. It seems Li Weiyi's identity as an insect tamer is not to be underestimated. A 7th sea martial mystic cultivator from the Thundercloud sect, already brimming with bloodlust, urged, shouldn't we strike now? Lu Kangsheng glanced at the moon's position in the sky, silently calculating the time. He shook his head. The situation is far too ambiguous now. A reckless move could lead to utter annihilation. Qin Qian agreed. Exactly. Let them fight it out. The bell will ring soon. We'll bypass the battlefield and enter the Dragon Palace first. If Luansheng Linyu wins, the Calamity Crossing Temple might truly support the forces behind him. The consequences are unthinkable. We must enter the Dragon Palace first to secure our position. Within the Thundercloud sect, a clear division had formed between the conservative and the radical factions. 2 figures, a man and a woman, burst out from the first level of the Bright Moon 7 Stars Pavilion, their eyes wide with disbelief as they gazed at the black tide of insects surging along the Heaven and Earth Avenue. The woman in white said, I didn't expect this variable. This makes things difficult. How should we choose? The man in white replied, this insect swarm was drawn by the 7 emperor-grade strange insect larvae. It's bound to be unstable. If Luansheng Linyu can assemble a great spiritual master formation and use spiritual power, they can break it. The woman in white countered, will Li Wei and Zhuao Hong give him a chance to form a great spiritual master formation? The 28 Calamity Fire Realm great spiritual masters near the coast are easy to mobilize, but allowing Zhe Shantong to escape the formation is likely the last thing Luansheng Linyu wants to see. The man in white pondered for a moment. Then let's wait and see how the situation unfolds. The sudden appearance of the insect swarm army stunned not only the far western Ashlands and various factions but also left Zhuao Hong momentarily bewildered. Her eyes filled with questions as she turned to Li Wei. Where did you summon them from? Is this Chu Prefecture city your home or mine? Having resolved to fight to the death, she now felt her confidence rekindled, her spirit soaring. Luansheng Linyu and Long Dian displayed the composure expected of the younger generation's top experts. Unfazed by the sudden upheaval, their eyes remained sharp, their minds unclouded. Long Dian produced a small vial of Son of Heaven dragon blood and poured it into his mouth. The blood was scalding, burning like molten lava as it went down his throat. Li Wei and Zhuao Hongting exchanged glances and charged toward Long Dian. But their first move altered the interwoven energy of the four, drawing the Azure Phoenix and the Qilin into the fray. The Azure Phoenix soared toward Zhuao Hongting, its wings spreading to the size of a blue cloud, carrying the power of wind and fire. A hurricane roared, and flames blazed with intense heat. The Qilin lunged at Li Wei, 5 meters long and resembling a metal mountain. Though a battle intent, its body was incredibly solid, its eyes radiating wisdom. It held within it the essence of metal and wood, shrouded in mist. Li Wei was leaping through the air above the street when he was forced to change his attack direction. He stomped on the jade cauldron and collided with the Qilin's head. Boom! Spiritual chi clashed, and the air trembled. Suddenly, Luansheng Linyu's true form, a handsome young man, appeared as a phantom directly above Li Wei's head. His speed was terrifying. He knew that killing Li Wei, the insect tamer, would cause the swarm army to collapse. Holding a silver staff, he swung it, unleashing a torrent of silver light that sent martial mystic cultivators in all directions flying. Below the staff's arc, Li Wei finally felt Luansheng Linyu's terrifying power. His battle intent locked onto Li Wei, leaving him no escape. He could only meet the attack head-on. Bang! Li Wei parried with the yellow dragon sword. His left arm sank, and the Jingyu sword in his left hand thrust forward, aiming for Luansheng Linyu's right chest. Kang Li had once told him that Luansheng Linyu's heart wasn't on his left side. But things didn't go as planned. The moment the yellow dragon sword and silver staff met, a terrifying force shook Li Wei so violently that he nearly lost his grip on the sword hilt. His body plummeted straight down. The Jingyu sword, meant for a thrust, had to change to defense, blocking Luansheng Linyu's second staff strike aimed at piercing his chest. The silver staff was formed from the flowing silver mask. It could be solid or liquid, shifting unpredictably and posing immense danger. Boom! The clash of spiritual artifacts unleashed a torrent of energy. Li Wei staggered backward, the stone slabs beneath his feet shattering and gouging a trench dozens of meters long, waist-deep at its end. His Taoist robe was torn to shreds, revealing the blood handprint demon armor beneath. His fingers throbbed with excruciating pain, blood seeping from the seams, yet he still gripped his twin swords tightly. His well-defined arm muscles radiated a masculine beauty. Meanwhile, after consuming the Emperor's dragon blood, Long Dian's skin erupted with dragon scale patterns. He lunged for the bronze war spear planted in the ground, blood mist erupting from his pores as his muscles and bones roared with dragonic power. The space around him began to warp in reality. His eyes blazed, locked onto Zhuao Hongting. With a powerful leap, he intercepted her with the war spear, denying her the chance to join forces with Li Wei. Li Wei circulated his spiritual qi, instantly restoring his throbbing, numb fingers. His gaze met Luansheng Linyu's as the latter charged forward. The young man's body shimmered with brilliant silver light, his battle armor pristine as new, the colossal intent of the Azure Phoenix and Qilin once again coalescing around him. Whoosh! Blood mist billowed from Li Wei's soft armor, 900 blood-red scriptures imprinting themselves onto his skin as demonic energy surged. Above, the air crackled with the sound of rushing wind as 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors descended. Behind them, 7 rivers of insects snaked and twisted, spiraling forward. Whoosh! Li Wei shot out of the ravine like a spring, aligning himself with the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors. With his bare arms raised and twin swords in hand, he clashed once more with Luansheng Linyu. Their swords and staff met in a flurry of fierce attacks. The clash of their weapons created the illusion of a dozen figures battling. The addition of the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors significantly restricted Luansheng Linyu's speed, forcing him to divert some of his energy to defense. The current phoenix-winged moth emperors could pierce his protective spiritual chi, their membranous wings potentially slicing his neck, and their claws capable of tearing through his flesh. The 7 rivers of insects crashed against Luansheng Linyu like relentless waves. After several dozen exchanges, Li Wei leapt from the ground, raised his swords high, and unleashed 6 battle technique intent projections that exploded into existence behind him. His twin swords slashed forward with 150 times his normal strength, a technique known as Tai opens the sea. Luansheng Linyu's pupils contracted sharply. The silver staff in his hand erupted with over 700 scriptures, forming a massive umbrella of scripture. Li Wei's twin swords, along with the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, combined into 9 overwhelming forces that shattered the scripture umbrella, sending Luansheng Linyu flying backward. He crashed to the ground over a dozen meters away. Crack! Crack! The twin swords carved 2 deep sword chi trenches into the ground between the 2 combatants. A strand of silver hair drifted slowly down through the air. Luansheng Linyu, holding his silver staff, watched the scriptures surge back like a tidal wave. A crimson bloodstain appeared on his face, as cold and unyielding as a 10,000-year-old iceberg. Fortunately, his battle armor was of extremely high quality, imbued with defensive runes, otherwise, the 2 sword strikes would have surely wounded him. In the past, he had disdained wearing defensive battle armor or using spiritual artifacts, believing he could conquer the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival with his bare hands. The martial mystic cultivators who witnessed the scene were left breathless with shock. Luansheng Linyu had actually been driven back and made to bleed. The last time Luansheng Linyu had been injured was at the hands of Kang Li. But that had been the result of a combined attacks by the Zhu Li tribe's elite warriors, a victory purchased at a terrible cost. Had Kang Li and Li Jufu not fled, the Zhu Li tribe's top fighters would likely have been slaughtered by Luansheng Linyu. Li Wei, however, was an insect tamer. The insects he raised were naturally an integral part of his strength. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 103-247, A Gathering of Heroes, each on their own battlefield. 103rd of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. How is this possible? Li Wei, crossing an entire realm, is holding his own against Luansheng Linyu. If Luansheng Linyu is the young celestial emperor, what does that make him? Li Wei in insect control state is practically invincible. If he reaches the 7th sea, he could single-handedly rewrite the entire battle. Isn't he already doing that? Li Wei, enveloped in a swirling blood mist and wielding twin swords, advanced step by step through the blood-soaked street littered with corpses. 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, radiating the ethereal glow of immortal soil, fluttered around him. He declared, "You don't seem as strong as I expected." After being driven back, Luansheng Linyu entered a state of emptiness, his eyes devoid of emotion. I've always known there's always someone stronger out there. I've considered facing opponents at my level who might surpass me, becoming a whetstone to sharpen my martial Tao. I've contemplated every possibility, but I never imagined someone could cross an entire realm to fight me on such even terms. Your Tao body isn't complete, and your 5th level chi hasn't been fully refined. You still have significant room for improvement in the 6th sea. Are you the legendary full metal body, the one who has refined all meridian veins to pure gold, a mysterious constitution without any weaknesses? The inheritor level experts present were all deeply shaken by these words. Only those who had delved into the realm of golden meridian refinement truly understood the immense difficulty involved. If the number of meridian veins a martial mystic cultivator could cultivate was determined by their constitution and the strength of their breathing technique, the number of golden meridians they could refine was similarly limited. Once a cultivator reached the limit of their physique, no amount of resources could help them cultivate another golden vein. No wonder this kid's combat prowess is so bizarre, Zhang Jin exclaimed in amazement. With a mortal body, he defeats pure immortal physiques as easily as eating and drinking. Perhaps young Venerable is right, he truly is a full metal body. The heartless golden ape snorted. A full metal body only dominates in the realm of martial mystic techniques, with an even greater advantage in physical body refinement. Once you reach the Tao Seed realm, the importance of the Tao surpasses that of martial mystic techniques. Li Wei stopped, asking, "Are we still fighting?" Luansheng Linyu replied, "On the first day of the lunar month, I said that among the hidden dragons of this era, only you and I truly stand out. At that time, I admired your courage and your wisdom in handling crises. Now, in this contest, I still believe a wise strategy is needed. I've already tried brute force, and it didn't work. With the aid of those 7 rare insects, you've indeed gained the strength to contend with me. But that's precisely your fatal weakness. Those 7 rare insects can't leave the battlefield. Otherwise, the insect army will be drawn away, losing their value." Li Wei said, "Do you think you can leave the battlefield? If you do, I'll swiftly slaughter all the top experts in the far western ashlands." Luan Sheng Linyu replied, I have a team of 28 great spiritual masters in the Calamity Fire realm currently suppressing Zhe Shantong. If they intervene, your insect swarm will surely collapse. All things are interconnected, and no one can truly be invincible. Li Wei and Luan Sheng Linyu locked eyes, each knowing the other's psychological weakness. Luan Sheng Linyu turned and charged toward the Ashen region by the sea where Zhe Shantong was being suppressed. Li Wei pursued him at top speed, accompanied by his 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, who indeed led the insect swarm away from the battlefield. His heart sank. Luan Sheng Linyu is truly a terrifying opponent, not only in cultivation but also in intellect. He's forcing me into a one-on-one duel. Once Luan Sheng Linyu reached the Ashen region by the sea, Zhe Shantong would likely fall within moments under the combined attacks. If Zhe Shantong died, not only would the 28 great spiritual masters in the Calamity Fire realm rush over, but Ming Niansheng, Tantai Jing, and other top experts from the Nether realm of the dead would also join the fray. At that point, it would be a complete loss. In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Li Wei's mind. Suddenly, Xuanhuan, standing on the rain in midair, shot toward the seaside like a meteor, intercepting Luan Sheng Linyu. It's her. How did she escape the Long Dian? Li Wei glanced back. Boom. 36 pillars of lightning descended from the sky, forming a thunder annihilation formation that trapped the Long Dian within its confines. Brilliant lightning light flashed, and thunder shook the heavens and earth. Lu Kangsheng, floating in midair, landed on the shoulder of the Thunder Sect's divine battle technique intent. Standing halfway up the thunder annihilation formation, he roared, Li Wei, you are not the only hero in this world. Please retract the title, 2 insects of the Eastern Territory. Leave the Long Dian to me. Luan Sheng Linyu is yours and Xuanhuan's to deal with. Do not make me regret my decision today. It was Li Wei's courageous defiance against the odds, his fearless display of blood and valor as he drove back Luan Sheng Linyu with his twin swords, that had shaken Lu Kangsheng's resolve, prompting him to enter the fray ahead of schedule. Li Wei watched the Thundercloud sect martial mystic cultivators charge into the battlefield and let out a hearty, unrestrained laugh. Tonight, I'll have to look at you, Lu Kangsheng, with new eyes. And don't forget us. Let's make one final push. Even with our injuries, we can still fight. Kang Li, Zhang Ning, Zhu Yibai, Yin Zhu, and other figures, their bodies battered and exhausted, rushed toward the battlefield near the Bingju's lake. Take care of the 7 little ones for me, Li Wei said, then lifted Yin Shi and sprinted toward the coast. Xuanhuan was severely injured and couldn't hold out much longer against Luan Sheng Linyu alone. Yin Shi was terrified, thinking Li Wei intended to drag him into battle. I'm just an ordinary inheritor-level martial mystic cultivator. I'm severely injured. The only reason I survived Luan Sheng Linyu before was because the entire hidden sect of the Xuanhu sect sacrificed themselves to buy me a chance to escape. Divine Hidden One, you can't overestimate my strength. Li Wei asked, you're just badly injured, but your body is brimming with spiritual qi. It's different from them. Boom. Reaching the coast, Li Wei threw him to the ground. Then he tossed him the ghost banner. Yin Shi had long heard of the ghost banner's fearsome reputation. His despair instantly turned to joy as he clutched it to his chest, ecstatic. Li Wei said, you don't need to deal with Luan Sheng Linyu. Go rescue Zhe Shantong. Understood. Leave it to me. But what about the 7 rare insects? Who will command and control them to lead the insect swarm in battle after you leave? Yin Shi asked anxiously. A stunningly beautiful immortal figure flashed through Li Wei's mind. He sighed helplessly and turned toward the fierce battle between Luan Sheng Linyu and Xuanhuan. Now, it's up to me, Yin Shi, to save the number 1 young master and rewrite the entire battlefield. Yin Shi held his battle flag high, his spirit soaring as his dragon tail swayed forward. But when he saw the overwhelming forces surrounding Zhe Shantong, Yin Shi froze, his only thought to turn and flee. Before him stood a dense swarm of dead spirits, dozens of great spiritual masters in the Calamity Fire realm, and top-tier experts like Tantai Jing and Ming Niansheng. Within the formation, 5 ghost shadows lurked. Each ghost shadow was a formidable opponent. Yin Shi couldn't fathom how Zhe Shantong had survived this long. Did the number 1 young master have an incredibly tough constitution? The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, though intelligent, were like children. After Li Wei left, they actually charged toward Zhang Ning on their own, gathering around her. This naturally drew countless astonished gazes. Qi Xiao and Shi Shi's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. They remembered how they had worried all night on the 12th day of the lunar year, fearing Li Wei would die by Zhang Ning's sword. Standing behind Zhang Ning, Yang Qingxi stared at her back, feeling as if she were seeing her anew. Zhang Ning couldn't think about the consequences right now. She could only grit her teeth and command the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors to split into 7 groups, slaughtering the martial mystic cultivators from the far western Ashlands faction, leaving them sprawled in disarray, their mournful cries echoing throughout the city. Long Ting stepped onto a wisp of cloud mist, soaring to the top of the bright moon 7 stars pavilion. He took out a 2-foot-long bone flute and blew a deep, resonant note. Infused with spiritual qi, the flute's sound spread throughout South City. The sound waves entered the insect horde. Some of the less intelligent soldier-grade ferocious insects immediately became frenzied, ignoring the phoenix-winged moth emperor's commands and indiscriminately attacking all martial mystic cultivators. Use a high-grade spiritual artifact to suppress and kill the 7 rare insect larvae. The insect horde will collapse on its own. The heartless golden ape, clad in armor and protected by spiritual qi, fearlessly charged toward Bai Shu at the center of the insect swarm. It had recognized that Bai Shu was controlling a large number of general-level ferocious insects, maintaining order within the swarm. The heartless golden ape belongs to the Earthwolf King's army. You can't just move it as you please. Shi rushed forward to intercept the ape. Just you. The heartless golden ape didn't even glance at Shi. A mortal, newly arrived in the 7th sea, with such weak cultivation. It only showed how desperate the Earthwolf King's army was for talent, letting anyone become a Dharma king. That's right, just me. Since this is the final battle anyway, it's time to use my desperate trump card. As Shi ran, ancient scriptures appeared on his skin, and his body began to swell, tearing through his clothes as he grew in perfect proportion. Soon, he towered over the heartless golden ape. He continued to grow. You're of the ancient immortal giant bloodline. I've never been truly full, but today, I've eaten 3/10 of my fill. That should be enough to deal with you. Shi's giant fist slammed into the heartless golden ape, sending it reeling backward. Even without relying on cultivation, the ancient immortal giant's physical strength alone was already terrifyingly powerful. In the past, he had always concealed his true giant form with scripture texts, suppressing his giant body to the size of a normal human. Standing atop the bright moon 7 stars pavilion, Longting suddenly felt a powerful gust of wind behind him. He immediately stopped playing his flute and turned to look. There it was. A dragonfly over 6 meters long was flying toward him, its wings beating with a deafening roar. Long Ting recognized it as Zuaoqiu Ting's rare insect, named Zuaoqiu Qingting. Boom. Boom. After exchanging several blows, Long Ting found himself at no advantage. He was secretly shocked. Who would have thought an insect could be so formidable in battle? The dragonfly's abdomen erupted with brilliant light, and its mouth spewed countless beams of light, forcing Long Ting to leap off the bright moon 7 stars pavilion immediately. He flashed away, heading toward the battlefield below. The next moment, 3 figures moved with incredible speed. One wielded a staff, another a ruler, and the third a pair of swords. They fought, paused, and spun around the flying eaves and upturned corners of each level of the bright moon 7 stars pavilion, gradually ascending to the top. The bright moon 7 stars pavilion was a 10,000 character scripture artifact, inscribed with 7,000 formation glyphs. Now, these scripture texts and formation glyphs all emerged in concentric circles, their splendor even brighter than the full moon in the sky. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 104 248, A Crushing Defeat. 104th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. At sea, 100,000 lanterns surrounded the bright moon 7 stars pavilion, creating a spectacle like a sea of stars. The bright moon 7 stars pavilion had only 7 stories, but each story was over a dozen meters tall, making the entire tower as massive as a mountain. The tower's peak stood hundreds of meters above the sea, where clouds were low and winds were fierce. The moon appeared even larger, casting a brilliant glow on the glazed tiles, making them shine like golden roofs of an immortal palace. Boom. On the tower's peak, the 3 figures moved with unpredictable speed. Clashing spiritual qi and the clash of battle weapons sounded like thunder. Luansheng Linyu, controlling the intense shadows of the azure phoenix and Qilin beasts, clashed with Zuaoqiu Hongting's peach and plum blossoms fill the world, and 8 trigram seal of life and death, forcing her to retreat step after step on the glazed tiles, nearly falling into the sea. She was already severely injured. Despite taking medicinal pills, her combat strength was severely diminished, far from her peak condition. Luansheng Linyu wanted to defeat Zuaoqiu Hongting first, but after taking only 3 steps in pursuit, a long sword clang echoed from above. Li Wei descended like a visitor from another world, wielding twin swords in a dive. A divine speed talisman affixed to his chest allowed him to match Luansheng Linyu's speed. The twin swords slashed down like 2 divine waterfalls. Boom. Boom. Luansheng Linyu raised his staff to meet the attack, deflecting Li Wei's sword momentum. Life and death slash. Straight ahead, Zhuoqiu Hongting swung her Dao ruler horizontally, creating a blade of over 100 feet long, with a green glow and countless scriptures swirling around it. Luansheng Linyu's eyes sharpened. After forcing Li Wei back, the silver staff in his hand melted into countless droplets. These droplets shot out at incredible speed, transforming into dozens of razor-sharp silver shuttles mid-flight. Li Wei, knocked into the air, his eyes blazing with intensity, unleashed the Jingyu sword. Countless feather-shaped sword chi erupted from the blade. The yellow dragon sword formed a horizontal barrier to defend. Most of the silver shuttles were blocked, but a few struck Li Wei's body, colliding with the 900 scriptures inscribed on his skin. They failed to pierce his defenses. The blood handprint demon armor was a 9th-grade 100-character artifact. However, the impact force of the silver shuttles felt like fists slamming into his chest, sending Li Wei soaring off the top of the bright moon 7 stars pavilion and into the air hundreds of meters above the sea. If he fell and left the battlefield, Zhuoqiu Hongting would likely be killed by the time he returned. Luansheng Linyu's strategy was to defeat them one by one. Facing two opponents at once, his chances of victory were slim. Roar! Li Wei had just launched into the air when a yellow dragon shadow appeared beneath his feet. He then glided through the void, sliding from the dragon's tail to its head before flashing back like lightning. His mastery of the yellow dragon ascending to heaven technique had reached a new level of subtlety, allowing him to execute it with effortless ease. He was on the verge of cultivating battle intent. Boom! On the other side, Luansheng Linyu struck the Dao ruler with his palm, the force of the blow sending him reeling backward. Sensing Li Wei's attack from behind, his eyes narrowed. He leapt into the sky, escaping the double-pronged attacks. Luansheng Linyu stepped onto an azure phoenix shadow, soaring straight upward. Zhuoqiu Hongting, treading on rain, and Li Wei, leaving a trail of dragon shadows in his wake, pursued relentlessly. They continued to press their combined attack on Luansheng Linyu, as if determined to drive him all the way into the clouds. However, at their current cultivation level, this aggressive strategy was rapidly depleting their spiritual qi. This was precisely the strategy Luansheng Linyu had employed, using one's strengths to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. He had observed that Zhuoqiu Hongting's spiritual qi was already depleted, while Li Wei had just arrived at the 6th sea. "Lend me your spiritual qi," Li Wei said, producing the purple heaven thunder seal. Both of them simultaneously channeled their spiritual qi into it. Boom! Thunder roared and lightning flashed across the sky. From the seal, a dozen bright purple lightning bolts erupted, shattering the Azure Phoenix battle technique's battle intent light and shadow beneath Luansheng Linyu's feet. Several of these bolts struck him directly. Deprived of the Azure Phoenix battle technique's support and struck by lightning, his spiritual qi circulation faltered. Luansheng Linyu plummeted straight down toward the sea hundreds of meters below. Just as he was about to crash into the water. Whoosh! A pair of enormous azure wings unfurled from his back. These were real, flesh and blood wings, spanning several dozen meters and ablaze with azure flames. As they swept through the air, they churned up waves several meters high. Simultaneously, a vast demon cloud erupted alongside the azure wings. Qilin horns sprouted from Luansheng Linyu's forehead, revealing his demon clan heritage at last. His aura grew even more terrifying. The jade carriage pulled by 5 snow dragon came to a halt. Tang Wancho jumped out and gazed at the purple lightning flashing in the southern sky, where she could make out human figures. Longing stirred within her. After a long moment, thunder finally rumbled in the distance. Inside the carriage, Tang Wanzhou's voice echoed, "You've already lost your chance to enter the arena. Even if you went and won, you wouldn't receive any rewards or become a hidden dragon. Instead, you'd risk dying on the battlefield. It's not worth it." Tang Wanzhou replied, "After refining the millennial snow marrow, my injuries have recovered by 30% in a short time. I can maintain my peak state for 6 or 7 moves. I think that's enough. I'm not going there to compete for hidden dragon status, but for revenge. With such determination, how could I not support you? Take my divine snow sword. Use the blood of the Long Dian to wash away the frost from the northern territory that still clings to its blade." Within the jade carriage, a hand as white as congealed fat formed a sword finger and pointed forward. Clang! The divine snow sword leapt from its scabbard, bursting through the carriage curtains and embedding itself in the center of the street 10 yards away. Its resonant clang echoed throughout the city. Starting from the sword's tip, the entire street was instantly covered in a layer of white frost. As long as the sword remains, so shall I will not lose it. Tang Wancho raised the long sword, leapt into the air, and carved an arc through the void as she soared toward the brightly lit bright moon 7 stars pavilion. Li Wei and Zhuoqiu Hongting exchanged a glance, no longer led astray by Luansheng Linyu. They transformed into 2 afterimages, charging towards the seaside where Zhe Shantong was trapped. As expected. Luansheng Linyu no longer tried to drag them into the sky, but instead dove towards the beach to intercept them. Meanwhile, Yin Shiyi only felt a surge of confidence after activating his ghost banner, summoning a 10-jong tall ghost general from within. He roared, "Who dares to fight me?" Ming Niansheng glanced at the towering ghost general, 10-jong tall. That's the level of the Dao Seed realm. Isn't that against the rules? What do you know? If I truly had Dao Seed realm cultivation, the ghost general I'd summon wouldn't be just 10-jong tall. It would be 20, 30. Yin Shiyi waved his ghost banner. The 10-jong tall ghost general roared and charged towards the enemy ranks, spewing dueling cold fire from its mouth. Tantai Jing stood at the center of a 100-meter-wide formation plate, levitating in midair with a staff in hand. Using her spiritual power, she transmitted an order to 14 of the 28 great spiritual masters in the Calamity Fire realm. Each of these 28 great spiritual masters was a peak expert below the spiritual master level, arranged in a circle around the formation plate. Facing the 10-jong tall ghost general, 14 great spiritual masters stepped forward. Beams of light shot from their foreheads, interweaving to form a formation seal that blocked the dueling cold fire. The ghost general changed its tactics, wielding its war spear and slashing out. Simultaneously, dense talismanic runes erupted from the foreheads of the 14 great spiritual masters, directly attacking the ghost general's true form. Yin Shiyi had never before faced 14 Calamity Fire realm great spiritual masters simultaneously. They came from different factions, and their coordination wasn't perfect, yet they already possessed the power to suppress Dao Seed realm experts. If 14 are this formidable, how powerful must Jie Shantong be? Yin Shiyi was shocked, unable to imagine such an existence in the 5 Seas realm. Tantai Jing and Ming Niansheng were also pondering the same question. They had assumed that such a lineup would instantly obliterate Jie Shantong. In the Ashen region, Jie Shantong strained with all his might to maintain his white mist world, which revolved ceaselessly above his head like the sun and moon, deflecting attacks from all directions. His sun and moon battle technique intent grew stronger with each blow, allowing him to redirect the force of attacks, turning them against his enemies and fearlessly enduring the encirclement. Of course, even the strongest defense had its limits. Jie Shantong's body was covered in wounds. His skin had cracked like porcelain, and even his Dao body couldn't withstand the strain. Just then, he sensed the formation weakening. Naturally, he seized the opportunity. His eyes snapped open, his pupils now a sun and moon, and shot forth 2 brilliant beams of light that struck the formation plate above. From his ancestral field below his navel, 5 golden beams shot out in rapid succession. Bang! 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 Each golden beam contained a foot-long, diamond-shaped golden pillar. They flew in 5 directions, striking the 5 dead spirit ghost powerhouses from the nether realm of the dead, sending them flying out of the formation's area. The 5 golden beams returned and coalesced into a 5-foot-long golden whip in his hand. Dense, minute scriptures covered the whip, radiating an intense brilliance that shook the formation plate violently. No. He's wielding the Kanglong whip. Tantai Jing exclaimed in alarm. Jie Shantong raised the whip, his body enveloped in golden light, and charged upward. With a single strike, he pierced the formation plate, then plunged downward in a furious dive. Tantai Jing hastily swung her staff, unleashing a formation seal. Bang! The formation seal, fragile as paper, shattered under the Kanglong whip's impact. In an instant, the second whip struck. Tantai Jing's head exploded, leaving behind a headless corpse that plummeted into the small ashen region below. Jie Shantong glanced at his skin, now covered in cracks and blood. His gaze swept over the panicked great spiritual masters before finally settling on Yin Shiyi. I'll remember your help. If you and Li Wei ever come to Lingxiao City, I'll treat you. Boom. Jie Shantong's gaze shifted to Ming Niansheng, who was sustaining the battle intent. His fury erupted like a raging inferno. He stomped a massive crater into the ground, then moved like lightning, appearing above Ming Niansheng and swinging his whip down. Ming Niansheng summoned hundreds of dead spirit ghosts, forming a dense ghost cloud. But with a thunderous crash, the cloud shattered under a single whip strike. Moments later. Thud. Ming Niansheng's body was severed in 2 by the whip, leaving behind 2 mangled halves. Each of you thinks you're Li Wei. Do you really think I'm so easy to provoke? Jie Shantong ignored the remaining great spiritual masters and the 5 ghosts, who had already vanished. He raised his whip and rode the waves, charging toward the battlefield where Luansheng Linyu, Li Wei, and Zuoqiu Hongting were locked in combat. Among the younger generation, only those 3 truly piqued his interest. Long Dian, this strike carries the resentment of hundreds of 5 Seas realm martial mystic cultivators from the Snow Sword Tang Court, their grievances condensed into a single sword strike. Tang Wancho, wielding the divine snow sword, descended from a height of over 10 meters, accompanied by swirling frost and snow, unleashing a radiant sword chi. Long Dian, having just broken free from the thunder annihilation formation, felt the bone-chilling cold of Tang Wancho's sword edge. The stinging pain of frostbite immediately flared across his cheeks as he raised his halberd to defend. Boom. The ground beneath his feet collapsed into a deep crater. Pain surged through Long Dian's chest. Looking down, he saw his golden armor shattered, blood seeping from the cracks. The bronze war spear, weighing over 120,000 jin, was severed in two by a single strike. The entire street behind him turned white, coated in a thick layer of frost. Divine. Snow. Sword. Long Dian gritted his teeth, spatial energy erupting from his ancestral field. His body shot backward like a projectile, creating distance between himself, Tang Wancho, and Lu Kangsheng. He turned his gaze back to the battlefield. The heartless golden ape and Kang Jin had fallen one after another, their corpses devoured by swarming insects. Martial mystic cultivators from the far western Ashlands faction were showing signs of complete collapse. Like a mountain crushing down, the saying perfectly described the scene before him. Just half an hour ago, the situation had been overwhelmingly in their favor. How could the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, a guaranteed victory, have been disrupted by the sudden appearance of Li Wei? Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 105-249, The Bell, the Immortal Turtle Carrying the Dragon Palace. 105th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. By the time they calculated, the temple bell would soon toll for the midnight hour. As long as they carried their invitation cards and successfully entered the Dragon Palace venue, with the vast collection of Immortality Pill tickets, Dragon Seed tickets, and Dragon Bone tickets they had gathered with Luan Sheng Lin Yu, they still had a chance to become the biggest winners of the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival. The situation might have turned against them. But under the Calamity Crossing Temple's rules for collecting tickets, they hadn't lost yet. Follow me. We'll go out to sea and wait for the Immortal Turtle Dragon Palace to arrive. Ignoring his injuries, Long Dian shouted to Long Ting, then the two abandoned the dragon sect martial mystic cultivators and retreated from the battlefield, charging into the sea, which was now covered in floating lanterns. The Lantern Festival was a beautiful occasion, but the seawater had long been stained crimson. After them. Long Dian is carrying a large number of Immortality Pill tickets, Dragon Seed tickets, and Dragon Bone tickets. Kill him before he enters the venue. Tang Wancho and Lu Kangsheng were the first to pursue them into the Bingju's lake. Outside the Bright Moon Seven Stars Pavilion, a man and a woman in white robes, representing Thousand Mile Mountain, shouted in unison, "All martial mystic cultivators of Thousand Mile Mountain, heed our command. The azure heavens have fallen, the yellow heavens shall rise." The hidden dragon of the yellow heavens is in Chu Prefecture, fighting for the Zuaoqiu sect, for the human race, to avenge Qin Li, to exterminate all demons and evils, and to restore Lingxiao to its rightful glory. Kill. The Five Seas Realm martial mystic cultivators under Thousand Mile Mountain, each clad in spotless white robes, were all one in 1,000 heavenly prides. They surged forward like a tidal wave, slaughtering the fleeing martial mystic cultivators of the far western Ashlands faction. Bingju's Lake. Zhe Shantong strode forward, the last vestiges of his spiritual qi pouring into the Kanglong whip. The 5-foot golden whip quickly ignited. Whoosh. Reaching the battlefield, he swung the whip, which instantly transformed into a golden pillar dozens of meters long, sending massive waves crashing across the sea. Luan Sheng Linyu hadn't expected Zhe Shantong to escape. Realizing something terrible had happened, he frowned and raised his silver staff to block the Kanglong whip. Bang! On the other side, Zuaoqiu Hongting's Dao ruler struck, but Luan Sheng Linyu caught it barehanded. Scales rapidly sprouted from his fingers, enduring the spiritual artifact's energy. In terms of pure physical strength alone, Luan Sheng Linyu, with his bloodline of a purebred ancient immortal giant beast, was unmatched in the Five Seas realm. He was the great-grandson of Yu Jia, the last ancient immortal giant beast of the Lingxiao realm. Though Zuaoqiu Hongting and Zhe Shantong had cultivated Dao bodies, their physical strength still lagged behind his. This was precisely why Zuaoqiu Hongting was so desperate to obtain immortal soil. The reason the three were evenly matched was that Zhe Shantong and Zuaoqiu Hongting each possessed their own unique advantages. Whoosh. Seizing the opportunity, Li Wei struck like a streak of light, his sword piercing Luan Sheng Linyu's forehead. Trapped between the Kanglong whip and the Dao ruler, Luan Sheng Linyu had nowhere to dodge. His eyes, colder than ice, locked onto Li Wei. Li Wei was astonished to discover that the yellow dragon thrust hadn't struck Luan Sheng Linyu's head. The third eye spirit realm on his forehead opened, unleashing a brilliant radiance that formed a vortex of spirit fire, rapidly pulling the yellow dragon's sword into its depths. Li Wei gripped the sword hilt tightly, spun his body, and kicked Luan Sheng Linyu in the chest. Meanwhile, the Jingyu sword in his other hand swept upward from below, aiming for his chest. Rue, auspicious calamity, sound. The Azure Phoenix and Qilin light and shadow figures behind Luan Sheng Linyu collided violently, merging into one and surging into his body. Luan Sheng Linyu let out a piercing, ear-splitting shriek. Feather and scale-shaped scriptures erupted from his mouth along with the sound, causing the entire sea region to explode in a deafening roar. Zhe Shantong, Zuoqiu Hongting, and Li Wei all had their eardrums shattered and were severely injured by the auspicious calamity sound, sending them flying backward. Luan Sheng Linyu wasn't faring much better. Li Wei's sword had sent him hurtling through the air. Blood dripped from his forehead, and a crack appeared in his skull, a wound inflicted by the Yellow Dragon sword. Dispelling the Yellow Dragon sword's attack wouldn't be so easy. The crimson bloodstain, clinging to his eerily serene face, only intensified his already sinister aura. As Zuoqiu Hongting plummeted toward the sea, she could no longer suppress her injuries. A mouthful of blood erupted from her lips, and she immediately sealed 3 critical spring acupoints on her body, preventing any further exertion. Zhe Shantong's skin had completely burst open, transforming him into a blood-soaked figure, only his double pupils still shining brightly. You've cultivated a Dao technique and even managed to unleash it at the Five Seas realm. The Spring Surge realm and the Five Seas realm both fell within the realm of martial mystic cultivation. In other words, opening the meridian veins, cultivating spring acupoints, and forming the Qi Si were all foundational steps in building the foundation of martial mystic cultivation. Only upon reaching the Dao seed realm could one truly be considered to have entered the Dao through the martial mystic path. Techniques cultivated at the Five Seas realm could only be considered martial mystic techniques, far inferior to Dao techniques. Zhe Shantong was naturally astonished. Cultivating any Dao technique was a process that couldn't be completed overnight. It required special scriptures and the spiritual qi of a Dao seed realm cultivator to even be unleashed. A Dao seed realm martial mystic cultivator who had mastered a Dao technique would possess combat power that no Five Seas realm martial mystic cultivator could hope to match. Zuoqiu Hongting's face was pale, but the wooden mask she wore concealed her true condition. She said, "Legend says the Qilin embodies auspiciousness, while the Luan bird represents calamity, both born with innate Dao techniques. It seems this auspicious calamity sound, which merges the powers of auspiciousness and calamity, is his innate divine ability." Li Wei's heart pounded. He remembered Zhenhai Guanwu's warning: if Luan Sheng Linyu was truly connected to the Qilin that had escaped long ago, the consequences would be catastrophic. Li Wei had once used this threat to scare Lu Kangsheng, but he desperately hoped it wasn't true. Until now, Luan Sheng Linyu had only cultivated the battle technique intent of the Qilin battle technique. In the history of the Lingxiao realm, more than a dozen people had achieved this feat. It wasn't particularly rare. Practicing a special breathing technique from the dragon sect offered a chance to do so. But to unleash an innate Dao technique imbued with auspicious power, that was entirely different. Without Qilin blood flowing through his veins, how could he possibly have done it? Li Wei stared at the twin horns on Luan Sheng Linyu's forehead and asked, "Has the Qilin returned to the Lingxiao realm?" This was a question that the old fogies of Taoli Peach and Plump Mountain were desperate to ask as well. But Li Wei's brazenly direct question sent shivers down their spines, filling them with a profound sense of impending doom. It felt as if the sky was about to collapse. Luan Sheng Linyu's gaze remained indifferent as he surveyed the battlefield on the shore, where the tide of battle was turning against them. Thousand Mile Mountain was trying to coast to victory. The Long Dian and Long Ting had retreated into the sea. Zhang Ning, accompanied by 7 rare insects and a swarm of others, was advancing toward the 4 of them. Despite everything spiraling toward the worst possible outcome, Luan Sheng Linyu remained as calm as an observer, merely sighing softly. Zhe Shantong said, "See. No matter how powerful the demon race becomes, as long as the major powers of the human race unite, we can defeat you. You won't be able to establish a monster kingdom. The Lingxiao people won't allow it. If the human race could truly unite, there wouldn't have been a decade of war and constant internal strife. If the Lingxiao Palace were truly worthy of its position as ruler, there wouldn't be so many human factions defecting to the far western ashlands and becoming dependent on foreign races." Luan Sheng Linyu's tone was cold and sharp as he continued, "Besides, I didn't lose to you, Zhe Shantong, today. Li Wei. You are a worthy opponent." Luan Sheng Linyu knew better than anyone that tonight's defeat stemmed from losing to Li Wei. It wasn't just Li Wei's combat prowess and the insect swarm he commanded, but also the charisma he had been cultivating since the previous year. Like a legend, he had repeatedly turned the impossible into reality, rekindling everyone's confidence and inspiring them to fight alongside him. Lu Kangsheng had been sent into battle early, Shi had risked exposing his ancient immortal giant bloodline, and Tang Wancho had returned after leaving. Perhaps they didn't even realize it themselves, but their increasingly radical actions were all spurred by the indomitable heroic spirit radiating from Li Wei. Without that, Li Wei and his easily overwhelmed insect swarm would have been far from enough to turn the tide of the battle. Li Wei was well aware of his limitations. "Don't flatter me. I'm still far behind you all. The only reason I can suppress my fear and fight with everything I have is because my friends are on the battlefield. The people I care about are on the battlefield. Of course, the rewards from the Calamity Crossing Temple are also extremely tempting. Luan Sheng Linyu nodded slightly. The greatest respect one can show a worthy opponent is to fight with everything you have to kill them, never giving them a chance to grow stronger. Li Wei asked, do you have the strength to do that? GG. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors and their swarm flew over Li Wei's head. Zhang Ning had already left, leaving only her retreating figure. The moment she reached the shore, she collapsed to the ground, never to rise again. Li Wei finally withdrew his gaze only after seeing Zhuang Yu rush over and carry her away. Luan Sheng Linyu said, Li Wei, you've exposed the Purple Heaven Thunder Seal, the 7 rare insects, and your foundation in the Golden Meridian Martial Dao. Zhe Shantong, someone is bound to covet your Sun Moon Immortal Eyes. The Kanglong Whip must contain at least 5,000 scriptures, right? Zuoqiu Hong, you must also have a forbidden secret you can't reveal. Anyone who reaches our level must have encountered extraordinary opportunities. Zuoqiu Hongting replied, it seems you're hiding a trump card even more terrifying than the auspicious calamity sound. Show it. I want to see if you still have a chance to turn the tables. South City had no outer city walls, only layers of protective arrays that draped like shimmering veils into the sea, extending dozens of miles from the shore. The moon's reflection in the water rapidly grew larger and brighter. Soon, it covered a vast circular expanse of sea, spanning over 10 miles in diameter. Rosy mist billowed around it, and auspicious clouds unfurled like petals, opening a realm beyond human comprehension, a mirage of moonlit water. The cloud mist dispersed. In the bright, round moon reflected in the water, a lush island emerged, as if descended from another world. On the island stood magnificent palaces, their grandeur and mystery palpable even from afar. Beneath the island, a colossal, ancient immortal turtle, its body larger than a mountain, exuded a powerful aura. Dong. As the midnight hour arrived, the first temple bell of Taoli Peach and Plum Mountain rang out. This signaled the official opening of the venue to martial mystic cultivators holding invitation cards. Once inside, they could exchange their Calamity Crossing Temple tickets from New Year's Eve for corresponding rewards. Moreover, fighting and killing were strictly prohibited within the venue. The atmosphere was to be one of harmony and festive joy. The temple bell tolled once every quarter hour. By the third quarter of the midnight hour, the fourth temple bell would ring. Those who had not yet entered the venue by then would be considered to have forfeited their chance. Long Dian and Long Ting led the charge, drawing ever closer to the immortal Turtle Dragon Palace. Their eyes shone with anticipation and reverence. The Dragon Palace, legendary dwelling place of the Flying Dragons, was considered the ultimate sacred ground for Dragon Sect disciples. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 106-250 The Primordial Lamp. 106th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Boom. Splash. 36 bolts of lightning tore across the sky, passing over the Long Dian and Long Ting's heads before crashing into the sea 100 feet ahead, sending waves surging. As the waters calmed, Lu Kangsheng's figure emerged, standing on the shoulder of the Thunder God's spectral form. He turned to look back. Behind him, Tang Wancho, Kang Li, Zhu Yibai, Yin Zhu, Yang Qingxi, Shi Shi Shi, the male and female cultivators from Thousand Mile Mountain, and many other figures were closing in. Is this the end of the road? Long Dian muttered with a bitter smile, gazing at the Dragon Palace now within reach. His heart was filled with resentment, yet he knew there was no escape today. Long Ting, Lu Kangsheng is after the various tickets on me. I can hold him off and buy you a chance to survive. The future of the Dragon Sect. I leave it to you. Brother, let's fight him together. Lu Kangsheng can't withstand our combined attacks. Long Ting urged. There's no chance. If those people behind catch up, you'll die too. Only one of us can live. Blood mist ignited around Long Dian's body, and roars of dragons echoed from within. Alone, he charged straight at Lu Kangsheng. Lu Kangsheng, do you think you're worthy of the Immortality Pill token, Dragon Seed ticket, and Dragon Bone ticket on me? Long Dian's dense spiritual chi carved a turbulent water path through the sea's surface. Lu Kangsheng's eyes remained as calm as a still lake as he extended his 5 fingers forward. Countless streaks of lightning burst from his fingertips, colliding with Long Dian's Azure Dragon battle technique intent. Roar. A dragon's roar erupted. A 5-jong long shadow of an azure dragon, enveloping Long Dian within, leapt from the sea. Long Dian struck with his palm, while the dragon extended its claws, both attacking Lu Kangsheng. Boom. Lu Kangsheng stood motionless in midair. The Thunder God battle technique intent beneath his feet swung its arm, shattering the dragon's claws and unleashing myriad bolts of lightning that struck Long Dian, sending him spitting blood and flying backward. Long Ting, instead of fleeing, followed closely behind and released a cloud of spiritual chi to catch Long Dian. Long Dian, I truly didn't want to fight you in your weakened state. There'd be no satisfaction in winning. But for the immortality pill, dragon seed, dragon bone, and your dragon sex betrayal of humanity, your death is well deserved. Lu Kangsheng leapt into the air, his right hand raised above his head, drawing down bolts of lightning from the heavens. With a thunderous roar, he swung his arm down. Dozens of lightning strikes, twisted together like vines, simultaneously struck Long Dian and Long Ting. Give me your hand. Long Dian roared, grabbing Long Ting's left hand. Immortal mist clouds erupted from his ancestral field below his navel, and a dragon soul flew out, merging with the battle intent of the Azure Dragon battle method and surging into Long Ting's body. Long Dian had earned the title of Banished Immortal, because, at his birth, immortal haze had descended from the heavens, transforming into a dragon that entered his mother's womb. Brother! Long Ting roared, then was flung toward the dragon palace by Long Dian. Long Dian stared in the direction of the dragon palace, his heart filled with anguish. He could never have imagined that he, who had been undefeated across the eastern territory, would be stopped in the Five Seas realm. Vast heavens, why do you treat me so unfairly? Struck by the lightning, Long Dian had no power to resist and was sent flying. Whoosh! Tang Wancho arrived, slashing out with her sword from afar, cleaving him in two. Blood and a shower of invitations burst from the sword's radiant edge. Long Ting, thrown into the air, his eyes bloodshot, etched this scene into his memory forever. His gaze locked onto Lu Kangsheng and Tang Wancho, a storm of fury, hatred, and killing intent driving him to the brink of madness. Everyone else was scrambling for the invitations. Long Ting landed back on the sea, his eyes eerily calm. With absolute rationality, he swiftly fled, becoming the first to board the immortal turtle and head toward the dragon palace. From this day forward, he would stop at nothing, using any means necessary, to make Lu Kangsheng and Tang Wancho regret their actions today, to suffer a pain beyond description. Li Shentong, ranked 10th in the Southern Territory First Tier, was the second to board the immortal turtle. Throughout the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, for various reasons, no faction had actively provoked him. He, in turn, had no interest in participating in the Hidden Dragon competition. As long as he secured a dragon seed and a dragon bone, he would remain ahead of everyone else in the Dao Seed realm. Tang Wancho chased the immortal turtle to its base, watching Long Ting enter the dragon palace. Her heart was a complex mix of longing, regret, and bitterness. But there was nothing she could do. She was out, and that was final. This lantern festival night was destined to pass her by. She drew her sword and walked away, her figure radiating loneliness. Seeing that the situation was decided and that he already possessed more than enough immortality pill tokens, dragon seed tickets, and dragon bone tickets, Li Wei realized that Luansheng Linyu still seemed to have a hidden trump card. It was time to cut his losses. Continuing to fight would be pointless and could even put him in danger. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future to catch up, surpass, and kill him. In a losing battle, there was no choice, it was like a narrow path where two enemies must meet. In a winning situation, however, it was wise to adopt a more cautious approach to minimize risk. Thus, Li Wei retreated behind Jie Shantong and Zuoqiu Hongting, preparing to control his swarm of insects to assist them in battle. After all, the Little Seven's defenses were formidable. Even before they reached 7 inches, they could withstand a blow from Jie Shantong and still be bouncing around the next day. Now, they were even more formidable. Luansheng Linyu gazed at the magnificent spectacle of the moon rising over the sea, immortal turtle carrying the dragon palace, and scanned the 3 figures across from him. It seems the heavens are on my side. The stroke of midnight couldn't have been more timely. When you have a choice, there's no need to put yourself in danger. A trump card is only a trump card if it remains hidden. A revealed trump card only attracts the covetous gaze of the greedy. Whoosh! Luansheng Linyu spread his wings, unleashing the power of wind and fire across their surface as he soared toward the dragon palace. Abandoning his desperate struggle, Luansheng Linyu used his speed advantage to escape. We can't let him reach the dragon palace. He's holding the most tickets. Zuoqiu Hongting and Jie Shantong transformed into 2 afterimages, pursuing Luansheng Linyu from the sea surface, one on the left and one on the right. Their speed was slightly slower, and the distance between them grew wider. They were far more deeply entangled in the forces behind them than Li Wei was. They had no choice but to fight to the bitter end. Chase him! Li Wei shouted, pointing forward. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors led their 7 fierce insect armies toward the dragon palace. Lend me a hand, Jie Shantong said to Zuoqiu Hongting. All right. Zuoqiu Hongting drew the 8 trigrams life-death seal and struck Jie Shantong with it. A series of shockwaves erupted, propelling him into the air to catch up with Luansheng Linyu. Li Wei, who had initially planned to play it safe, soon realized something was amiss. He saw Luansheng Linyu drawing closer to Kang Li, Yin Ju, and the others. The silver staff in his hand transformed into a longsword that radiated cold light in all directions. This enemy was too cunning to be a reckless brute, never letting hatred or the situation cloud his judgment. Luansheng Linyu had always maintained overall control, always knowing how to exploit his strengths and attack his opponent's weaknesses, making the most correct choices. Li Wei sighed deeply. Having an enemy like Luansheng Linyu was a headache. If he couldn't kill him today, after the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, he'd have to urge the Zhu Li tribe and the Zuaoqiu clan to eliminate him at any cost. What Li Wei didn't know was that Luansheng Linyu was thinking the same thing. Trying to hide. Looks like there's no escape. Lend me a hand. Li Wei affixed the last divine swiftness talisman to his chest. Carrying only Little 7, he caught up to Zuaoqiu Hongting. Using the power of her 8 trigrams life-death seal, he gained another burst of speed, appearing just behind Zhe Shantong and directly above Luansheng Linyu's head. The yellow dragon sword erupted with blinding golden light. Dragon scale patterns materialized on the blade as it cleaved downward. Simultaneously, Little 7 flew out in unison, like 7 dazzling flying knives. Luansheng Linyu parried Zhe Shantong's attack, sending the heavily wounded immortal reeling back. He then shifted his body to the right, narrowly dodging the yellow dragon sword's strike. Swish. Swish. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors brushed past him, leaving bloody gashes on his neck and the back of his hand, areas unprotected by his armor. Their speed was so swift, it was impossible to defend against them. Strangely, Luansheng Linyu showed no anger at being intercepted by Zhe Shantong and Li Wei. Instead, his lips curled into a slight smile as he glanced at Li Wei. Li Wei's heart sank. Despite his current absolute advantage, able to restrain Luansheng Linyu until Zhe Shantong and Zuaoqiu Hongting arrived to seal his fate, he trusted his instincts and his keen sense of danger. He immediately retreated with Little 7, drawing out the black iron seal as he did so. Zhe Shantong, charging forward, glanced at Li Wei with confusion. Whoosh! A terrifying aura, chilling to the bone, erupted from Luansheng Linyu. Brilliant light burst forth from his ancestral field. A feather shot out, transforming into a 100-meter-long immortal feather wreathed in flames that burned with blinding intensity. The heat was so intense that the seawater below began to boil. Zhe Shantong, seeing the immortal Tao scriptures inscribed on the feather, felt his hair stand on end. He let out a strange scream and fled alongside Li Wei. Li Wei, you always underestimate yourself. In my heart, you are more important than all of them combined. Luansheng Linyu revealed his true purpose and unleashed the immortal feather left by Yu Jia. This was a genuine immortal feather, imbued with immortal Tao scriptures and the power of immortals, a far cry from the long-dormant blood of ancient immortal giant beasts. Many things and people called immortal were merely receiving praise or a higher evaluation. This immortal feather was different, a treasure that even immortal realm giants would covet. Luansheng Linyu would never have revealed it if he hadn't valued Li Wei so highly. You sly dog. Zhe Shantong cursed. He was also enveloped by the flame immortal feather. He immediately activated his Kanglong whip, transforming it into a golden pillar to defend himself. Li Wei poured all his spiritual qi into his blood handprint demon armor and black iron seal, unleashing over a dozen thick purple lightning bolts. He hid behind the seal, ready to escape into the Tao ancestor Tai Chi fish at any moment. If Luansheng Linyu dared to reveal the immortal feather, Li Wei had nothing left to hide. After all this fighting, they had inflicted 1,000 casualties on their enemy while suffering 800 themselves. Boom. The immortal feather swept through everything like a scythe through wheat, sending the Kanglong whip flying and shattering the sun and moon battle method's battle intent. The lightning bolts released by the black iron seal were no match for it. Zhe Shantong dodged behind the black iron seal, which had grown to several meters in size, and joined Li Wei in supporting it. Their bodies, visible through the flames, visibly charred. Even the blood handprint demon armor couldn't withstand the attack. That strike could kill a Tao Seed Realm cultivator, Zhe Shantong said, his eyes darkening, his pupils turning into sun and moon. It seems I have no choice but to use the Tao ancestor Tai Chi fish. The thought had just crossed Li Wei's mind when. Behind him, like the rising sun, a brilliant divine radiance erupted from Zuaoqiu Hongting's brow, shielding them from the immortal feather's power. The two forces collided. The air warped in that instant. Zuaoqiu Hongting stepped forward, her feet treading the water's surface. The wooden mask that had once covered her face was now completely consumed by flames, revealing a face of exquisite beauty that rivaled Zhang Ning's. Unlike Zhang Ning's gentle, ethereal beauty, Zuaoqiu Hongting's was sharp and striking, her features and facial lines refined to the extreme, leaving an indelible impression on anyone who gazed upon her. Zhang Ning's beauty was softer, more ethereal and agile, yet somehow elusive, shrouded in mystery and concealing countless secrets. One favored the disguise technique, seeking to blur her true form. The other acted decisively, striking without hesitation, striving to appear more authentic. Zhuoqiu Hongting's long hair cascaded down her back, her Taoist robe billowing like azure clouds, her imposing aura surpassing countless Tao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivators. You wanted to know my forbidden secret. Very well, I'll satisfy your curiosity. Primordial light of creation, life, and destruction, death, selfless soul-devouring flame. Primordial lamp. The space around Zhuoqiu Hongting's brow trembled, and her third eye spirit realm opened. Then, a vast and boundless world unfolded within her brow, revealing a shattered ancient lamp at its center, its fragments radiating a majestic, mysterious aura. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.